Hey guys, this is Jason Long with Long Talks Video Podcast, and we've got a lot of stuff going on over on our end I wanted to tell you about real quick. We're going to be launching a new brand. It's actually our first brand, which is the new brand, is called Top Floor Lifestyle. And in the following weeks, we're going to get into what that means, where it came from, and why it is important to us. This afternoon, you got the pleasure of having me one-on-one, and we're going to be talking about taking initiative, how that separates success from failure, and taking the first damn step. And third of all, differentiation. What separates you from everybody else? Stick around. You don't want to miss what's coming up next.
So here's the big question. How does someone go from having everything to living out of the back of their car, constantly getting back up to only get knocked back down? How do we learn to face our fears, make hard sacrifices, and find that vision again and move from success to significance? This is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Jason Long, and this is Long Talks Video Podcast.
Hey guys, this is Jason Long with Long Talks Video Podcast, and this is kind of a redo / update from a podcast that I did earlier, which was basically an overview of my background, my entrepreneurship, and I had people after that coming to me saying some of it didn't make sense as far as there was gaps in there. And I knew there was gaps in there. It's hard to be 100% transparent, but that's what I do this podcast for. And so I'm going to give you guys the whole rundown, and I believe it's going to make a lot more sense to it. But what I ask you guys to do on these podcasts is to subscribe to them. That way you will always get the newest podcast that comes out. At a minimum, I'm releasing a new podcast every Monday, and there's going to be bonus footage that's going to come out to where you can only get the bonus footage if you actually subscribe to it. And so if you're an avid listener, and there's quite a few of you out there, if you are wanting to receive the newest podcast, please subscribe to it, like it, and if you do like it, share it with your friends or share it on your Facebook page or whatever. I mean, that's the only means of growth that I have. I don't make money off of this. So please, if you like it, if you find value, subscribe, like, share it with your friends. I appreciate it. One last thing, we're also going to have a newsletter that's going to be available when you subscribe. It's not going to blast you. It's going to be like a weekly newsletter, tell you what's going on, and it's going to have a link to the latest podcast that's there to come directly to your email. So when you subscribe within the next week, you'll actually see that option where you can subscribe to the newsletter. We don't spam you or anything like that. Okay, so let's get into this here. The actual topic of what I'm talking about today is initiative and just taking the first damn step in differentiation. And you'll see as I go through this, if you bear with me, it should all start clicking together. My parents divorced when I was in the 5th grade. My mom moved to Iowa, and I always told my mom, I says, hey, if you go, I want you to take me with you. I remember that clear as day. And they divorced. My mom moved to Iowa. I moved with my mom. My dad was the biggest drug dealer in Kankakee County. It's nothing I'm proud of. It's my closest friends knew it. And I was brought up in that lifestyle since I can remember. My dad did drugs, and I'm talking drug dealer. I'm talking suitcases full of drugs. So, and his drug dealing and addiction got worse after the divorce. And when I moved with my mom to Iowa, I had issues, man, at every school I went to. I mean, I didn't get along well. My mom worked at, it was called Yonkers, which is like a Carson's, and I'm getting nice, slacks with button-up shirts and cardigans and a t-shirt denim wearing era, and I was a target for people, and I was in fights. I was in school suspensions. I remember my mom coming in, bawling, the shit that she went through, man, bless her heart. She did the best that she could with the circumstances, but it was hard, man. I didn't fit in. In fact, it was so bad, I'd go over to where she waited tables at a restaurant, and I would go over there at the Golden Corral and wash dishes and bust tables. I mean, I guess to her, it was keeping me out of trouble. She knew where I was at. I liked doing it. I loved working. Never had a problem working. But like most of my friends were adults. I didn't get along with people my age. I don't know what it was. I mean, between the racquetball club that I went, played racquetball, still love racquetball. Between the racquetball club and working at the Golden Corral, hell, I don't even know if I even got paid or anything. I think I got food or whatever. But it was, I had a problem with my peers, people my age, whether it's because they were immature or I had to grow up too fast or whatever it was. But my dad was never present. Sporting events, moral support, emotional support. I don't, I always ask myself, because I don't like to think of the negatives all the time, but I'm like, if I think of someone asks me, hey, tell me the best memory you have of your dad. It's hard when you can't really point it out. And between, my dad had a degree from Olivet. He wasn't stupid. He was stupid in the sense of the bad choices that he made and for his family and his kids. And, when you have a decision and you choose that life over your family, I've got a problem with it. And I always swore that my kids would never go through what I went through. Yeah, they haven't. In fact, I think it's the opposite. I think they've turned out the opposite way, where they have stuff handed to them because of the grief and the shit that I went through. Sorry. The shit that I went through. But I always, looked for his approval. And between working, transferring, I never knew if he was in town, out of town, and his girlfriends, and being on the computer, and the drugs, and I was basically left to fend for myself. And it sucks that I went through it, but I mean, at a young age, I did my own clothes. I mowed the yard. I did the laundry, cleaned the house. I rearranged the house and everything, because everybody around me, their parents were doing it. And I wanted an active family so much that I would do it just to try and, they say keeping up with the Joneses. I wanted my shit to look good too. Like I almost didn't want my friends to know what was going on. So I'd come home. I had a paper route. I was making a little bit of money. And I would do it. My dad would be home on the weekends. So I would do this stuff, on my own. And to look back on it versus what we ask our kids to do nowadays, it's like, you don't even know. You don't even have a freaking clue of what, not just me. There's a lot of people that are probably listening to this that are being like, wow, that was a screwed up life. But yeah, okay, I went through that shit too. I mean, I'm telling you this because it's leading up to something. So just bear with me here. So my dad gets transferred my sophomore year, I think it was, out of town to Indianapolis, and I have a choice to go with him, or I didn't even know there wasn't even another option. I said, I'm not going with you. I'm not going with you to Indianapolis. So it was arranged through my mom that I went and stayed with my Aunt Nancy and Uncle Paul, Paul and Nancy Sear. Bless her heart again. Just like my mom. I mean, you've got your own life and your kids are out, and here you are taking me on. And I was only supposed to be there about 6 months, and man, I think it was well over a year. But my dad at some point stopped paying my rent there. And then so it got to a point with my aunt and uncle, and they're like, hey, you're not paying the rent, you're gonna have to go. And I said, I get it, I got it. So at that point I was working at Steak and Shake during the day. This is a volunteer on the Bourbonnais Fire Department. and I was working midnights at the Kinky Eagle stocking shelves. And at that point, I had nowhere to go, so I was living out of the back of an 89, I think it was, Buick LeSabre. In the wintertime, that sucked. And I remember having to, I would wake up because it'd be so freaking cold. And I'd be sitting there with a quarter tank of gas, you know, having to get me by for the next couple of days, but having to start the car because it was so freaking cold. You know, I mean, I'm talking frost on the insides of the windows, and I'm just trying to, like, that's why I work so much, is because it was less time I had to spend in the car. At least I was somewhere warm, had a little bit of food. It was not fun times. I would have cops knocking on my door like, hey, dude, you got to move. I'm like, move where? I'm sleeping in the back of my car, you know? So at that time I would hop around to different parking lots between Walmart and I don't even know what was even over there at the time. But, you know, we made it through that. Then the next phase is, my dad called me. We're going to fast forward. Probably I was 22 years old and working at CSL pharmaceutical company. My dad called me and told me that he had cancer. Now I want you to remember, I hadn't talked to my dad in probably 2 years. And he called me. He's like, "Hey JP, how are you?" And was my nickname that he would call me, was JP. And I said, "Good." And he's like, "I got something I got to tell you." I said, "Okay." And he's like, "I got cancer." I remember the silence on the phone. I remember I was so pissed off. Because I'm thinking, man, I ain't talked to you in however long. It was at least a year and a half. And this is the call that I'm going to get. You know, I was pissed off. So I left work, went over to his place, and he was at that time running a limousine service, which was Lincoln Land Limousine. So I go over there and we talk about, you know, the cancer and everything. And I said, "Hey, I got you, you know, I'll help you out." So, and again, this is, it's hard digging deep, but we're going to do it. I got over there and I helped him until he basically couldn't do it any longer, and he was going through his chemotherapy. And I ended up taking over the limousine service, and when it got to the point where I had full control of it, it was I didn't like it. It was unbranded. It was very old limousines, had lots of issues. I mean, the money we were spending bringing them in to get them serviced, stuff that wouldn't work on them, bad drivers, not all of them, most of them were bad drivers. So I'm thinking, man, you know, how do I change this? I knew what I wanted, but I'm like, man, how do I do it? I didn't know. So I ended up going into Ken Cright at Kinky Community College down here. And he gave me a packet, man. This sucker was probably 50 freaking pages long, man. And he goes, "Here, take this and fill it out." And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, "What the hell is this, man?" He goes, "It's a business plan." I'd never heard of a business plan in my life, man. I'm like, oh, God. So I kind of looked through it. He was trying to help me out on what I had to fill out. So I took it home, and I remember going through the business plan, and it was asking me questions that I had no idea what the hell it meant. And so I knew I didn't have it. So it's, you know, if you've ever done a business plan, it's very detailed. And I tell you what, I actually finished the business plan well after I needed it, just to say that I finished it, because it's a great tool. I'm not going to get into it, but anyways, I brought the business plan back to Ken, and I said, "Brother, listen, man, I ain't got no damn money. I'm going to be right up front with you. I have no money, you know, and you're asking me to do forecasts and excuse me, all this stuff." I said, I can't do this. I'm not going to waste any more time on this. I need you to be real with me in the aspect of, if I finish this business plan and I don't have any money, what's the purpose of doing it? So I went to several banks, tried to get loans, brought the business plan in there. And long story short, it didn't work out. Nobody was going to give me money. Nobody was going to give me any freaking money, man. We'll just leave it at that. So I went back home and I was like, man, I'm not done. This is not, I can't run this business the way it is right now. I mean, it was generating a revenue, but I couldn't do it. Like, it was just not me, like showing up for prom in an old beat up car instead of your parents letting you use their car. That's the way I felt. Like, I'm like, if I was doing a wedding or I was going to the airport, I don't want to be brought around in this. So anyways, I'm leafing through a magazine at my dad's house. It was a limousine magazine, just leafing through it, just like dreaming, man, that'd be nice to have this, have the nicest. So I see an ad down there with an 800 number, and I called it. And it was for Springfield Coach Builders. I called them, and Jerry Dutcher answers the phone. Still friends with Jerry Dutcher. And I'm talking to him, and I says, he goes, "This is Jerry, I said, "How you doing, man?" He said, "Good." I said, "Dude," I hope you're having a great day, because I said, this will be the craziest shit you've ever heard, man. And I said, "I need a limousine and I ain't got no damn money." And he laughed and we talked, and we went back and forth, and I ended up getting my first limousine through him. I ended up trading in 2 of our older town cars as a down payment for it. And to this day, through Springfield Coach Builders, I bought 4 8-passenger limousines, a 12-passenger Excursion, a 14-passenger Navigator, and an 18-passenger Excursion, including numerous town cars. I had $750,000 in assets and vehicles through the limousine service, new vehicles. And I just say that because that's where the initiative comes in, because I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wasn't going to do. And I could have stopped at the business plan. I could have stopped at the numerous banks. I mean, I spent so much time into the banks trying to get loans, which the way it worked out was probably the best possible way that I could have done it. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. It was not perfect. And there's a lot of stuff that I did wrong, but the initiative and then just to take in the first step. So many people, when they're doing their businesses right now, they think everything's got to be perfect. And if you wait for everything to be perfect, you're not going to want to do it anymore. I know that for a fact. Just know what you want and at least take the first step, because you can sit here, with all your ideas and everything on paper, and until you take that first step and you show that initiative and you get out of that comfort zone, be okay with being told no. And that leads us into the next step in how I grew the business to $750,000, almost $1 million business, by converting an old limousine service into a new limousine service and giving it a brand new look and not being afraid to lose everything. I knew I wasn't going to lose everything, but you got to be not afraid to lose everything. So as I got these vehicles, it didn't happen overnight. I got one, made the payments, got another one. And so I said, you know what? I don't want just the mom and pop airport runs. Those are okay, but I need more volume. So I said, I want corporate accounts. And I've never done marketing, never at this point had done anything. And it was all my research and development, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it. So at this point, internet wasn't even that big. I don't even know how I had a laptop. I think I went to Office Max or some new place and I didn't even have a laptop. Went and bought a cheap laptop and did a PowerPoint presentation, put it together. Never used PowerPoint, never used anything on a Microsoft Word at that time. And so put a PowerPoint presentation together, and I opened up phone book. We had phone books back then, and started going through one by one of corporate accounts, all within a 60-mile radius. And I had a routine. I would call up XYZ company, and I said, hey, I need to talk to your HR department, whoever handles your transportation. And they would put them on the phone. Sometimes I got a voicemail. I'd say, hey, this is Jake Sloan with JP's Limousine. I need about 5 minutes of your time. Wonder if there's a good time that I can come in. Usually, almost every person gave me a date and a time, and I went in there. I went one by one, went in, handed them a business card, and said, hey, this is who I am. Went through my PowerPoint, and I said, I'm not here to take anybody's business away from anybody. But I said, if you get stranded at the airport, or if you happen to get let down or you get into a bind, here's my card. Give me a call. All I'm asking for is a chance. I did that for 6 months. Almost instantaneously, we started getting calls. Might have only been one ride from one company, but after the experience that they got through us, and our motto was, nobody does better what we do best. And I had the belief, once you got in the back of one of my limos, you'll never want to get in the back of anybody else's limos. And we did it. And we had standards, and we were branded. And we were rocking. We were rocking. And again, it didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of planning, took a lot of time away from the kids, but at the end of the day, it was a 5-year business that we did. And again, it is taking that first step and getting out of your comfort zone. And I tie my success into a couple different categories, which is initiative that we've been talking about. Initiative, it could be not just business pertaining. It could be wanting to lose weight, taking the first step, get a gym membership, start walking, do something, which goes with the second thing on this topic. Take the first damn step. No matter what it is, you've got to have initiative. You don't have initiative separates success from failure 100% of the time. I don't care. I just threw that out there. I don't know if anybody else has ever said it, but I truly believe that. It's initiative. It's getting motivated and doing something instead of saying, I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. I wish I could have this. I wish I could have that. You can. Do what nobody else is doing if you want a business. They're not smarter than you. They're just doing what you are unwilling to do at that point in time. So I'm going to wrap this up, and we have all kinds of guests that are going to be coming on in the next couple of weeks. Matt Luttrell, who just got inducted into the JUCO Hall of Fame out of KCC. He's going to be on here. We got Mike Newman coming on Thursday, who owns Fit Body U. We have all kinds of exciting stuff that's going to be coming up. We appreciate your guys' time. Remember, hit subscribe, like, and share with your friends. Please, we appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll look forward to you next Monday. Thanks again. Thanks for watching Long Talks Video Podcast.